Welcome, everybody, to the Internal Wardrobe. This is a place where you can discover how to love yourself from the inside out. Today's guest is Dagmar Hirsch, and she is a yoga teacher and instructor. And I am so excited to have you on today, Dagmar. Thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure to be here, Gerlinda. I feel very privileged that you share the time with us all and to talk about what we have in common.
Yes, and we've known each other for a few years now, and one thing that struck me when I first met you is just how really genuinely happy and at peace that you always do come across. And I'm sure life's not always like that, but I'm sure that yoga has played a big part in how you feel about.
What you just said is a really beautiful thing. Life on this planet will always be in the duality. So we will always have challenging things that come across our way. And that was the same when I started 25 years ago. But the way you learn to react and the way the waves of life are touching you and what you get out of these waves, this is changing through your yoga practice.
Can you tell me a little bit about what got you into yoga or how long you've been doing it?
So I started 25 years ago as a midwife, and I helped women to transform from a young woman into a mother. And on this path of that transition, with growing something underneath your heart and letting it blossom, and the fears you carry around something you love so much and then deliver it. The way yoga and the breathing and relaxation and being present has helped women at that stage was overwhelming for me. Like, it didn't matter how big these babies were, how exhausted women would be. The women with which we guided through with yoga and the relaxation, the breathing, they just delivered really beautifully. And they felt afterwards so strong and really empowered. So that it ended up for me that I said, like, okay, if there is so much in this part of our life where we transition, where we birth, where so much pain can be involved, there must be so much more for us in life. So that's where my path from midwifery went into diving deeper into yoga. And I did my first teacher training in Germany, which was like 850 hours, really long, deep, a lot of philosophy, a lot of deeper concepts about the yoga. And yeah, after that, I started to meet Kali Chi. She's a yogini from the States. And this is where my tradition that I now teach, it's called Tree Yoga. It just implements everything in the flow, moment to moment awareness, relaxation and action, meditation and flow. So this is what I teach them. So after these 5 years of yoga teacher training, I met her, and then I started my path there. And I'm in continuous training, like, just because I love it so much. And there's so many little doors where you can go, oh, and what's behind there? And that's how I came to Ayurveda and said, like, okay, Ayurveda is the sister science. So it's involved what diet can we do, what lifestyle is the right for you at this present moment, how much rest do you need, what kind of exercise is the right, and does any organ of you need maybe a bit support? And that's where the Ayurveda came into.
Oh my gosh, it is so beautiful what you said about being a mother and having, your baby right near your heart. Like, honestly, I was getting emotionally and teary. I don't know if anybody else felt like that too, but it is such a special thing. And how beautiful that you were able to transition from, like, it's a different way of life, isn't it? To go from helping bring life into the world and, like you said, make those women feel really strong, but then also now helping women feel that way, whether or not they're giving birth. It's like giving birth to their own self and their own journey of life. And I want to know a little bit more in terms of yoga. I guess a big movement at the moment, everybody's on a fitness journey. And when you see yoga, I think sometimes people see it as like it's an exercise or a fitness regime. But you were explaining to me that yoga is so much more, that it's actually the movement, whilst it benefits you health wise, that's not actually what yoga is about.
True, true. Yeah. So yoga has sometimes become a bit reduced to just a physical form, which I feel it's really missing some of the layers. The holistic yoga really covers our physical body, but also enhancing the energy, looking after our mind, connecting us to a deeper wisdom in ourself, which we call wisdom mind, relaxing us into a very blissful state, so relaxed. And that blissful body, what we say, is closest to our soul. So when we are close to our soul, to our inner light, then this can shine through all the layers. You could also see it as a lamp shape. And so let's say in there is the bulb, and you have the different layers, your blissful body, your wisdom body, your lower mind, the habitual mind that tries to tell us our stories and sometimes talks a little bit down the spiral. And
Yep.
then we have our energy body. We all are related to our energy. We say like, oh, I'm really low on energy today, or I'm really buzzing today. Like, we have a relationship to that too. And then we have the physical body. So a holistic yoga really touches on all these levels. And the physical way is where most people enter yoga. But really, why do we go to yoga classes and not into fitness classes? Because our soul is yawning to experience something different. Our soul is asking for, connect to me, create an intimacy to myself, see me, and go from there and teach from there, or teach from there, live from there, do your next step from there. So I appreciate that people come through the physical form, but don't let it just that, for me, don't let it just be limit yoga to that physical form. And also in the physical form, what I feel like, that entire fitness and boom is really good, but I see a lot of people exhausting with all the fitness and running there and more and harder and have to prove, the entire proving myself is also coming into fitness, and we have to do this and that, and people get so exhausted. Yes, they rest because they rest in exhaustion, but they don't rest in bliss.
Yes, and I found that to be really interesting after I did a class with you just recently, that I came out of that class actually feeling quite energized. When it was really peaceful, the movement was really peaceful. It wasn't exhausting. I didn't feel like I was trying to turn myself into a pretzel. It was really about that flow, and I didn't. In a lot of other classes I've gone to, I think I'm looking around to see that I'm doing the pose properly. Whereas in this particular class, I just felt my body, and I think you were explaining it so well that I didn't really even have to look. I kind of let my body move in that way, and I thought that was really fantastic.
Mm. The entire feel myself has become in our society a little bit shut down. It is the second chakra. It's the chakra of our sexuality, of our creativity, of our flow. And this is why I feel, being in tune with ourselves, getting intimate with myself is such an important thing to really nurture that second chakra, and then with that our own creativity too.
And with this second chakra, so you're talking about the sacral.
Yes, the sacral chakra. Yeah.
Yeah. And and with yoga, so yoga works along with your chakras, is that correct? But in particular, different yoga poses will work with different chakras.
True. So chakras belong to the end. When we said the lamp shades, The chakra belong to the energy body. So the chakra system is one of the energy, is belonging to the energy body, like our breath is also, when we breathe in energy. So every time when we breathe, we enhance the energy, and we enhance the energy in our chakras when we breathe really deeply. But also when we round our spine, you know how we did it a lot in class in Tree Yoga, we round a lot the spine, and then we lengthen again, and we round again, and we lengthen again. And the chakras, they are all sitting along the spine. So every time when you round and lengthen, you strengthen the physical body, but you also enhance the energy flow. And so the chakras just get energized. And it's a chakra, you can imagine like a flower, you know. Do you know when, let's say, a flower at the very beginning, it just opens one leaf, but when it gets more energy, more nutrition, it goes one leaf, the next leaf, and as many leaves it has until it's a really big flower. And the same with our chakra. When a chakra is really blossoming, then the leaves are open. We have understood all this knowledge that chakra carries.
That's beautiful. That's a really lovely way to describe chakras. That's gorgeous. The other thing I really wanted to know more about was the Ayurveda.
Ayurveda.
Yes. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
So in Ayurveda, we say everybody is created out of the 5 elements. So the earth element is more the structured bones, our muscles. Then we have the water element, which is more our blood lymphatic system. We have the fire element, which is our digestion, whether it's digesting our food or our thoughts, our experiences. And we have the air element when we breathe in. And we have space, which is really our spiritual connection, our soul, and also the spiritual connection. So everybody is come to this life with a certain percentage of these elements. Let's say a bricklayer has maybe a lot of earth because he needs it to create some structure. A nurse maybe has a lot of water because it's the nurturer. A manager has a lot of fire, if it's ideal, to push things through. A teacher has a lot of air element because it just loves to talk.
I think I know which one I am.
Teacher, a spiritual teacher has maybe a lot of space element. They can just easily explain spiritual things. So ideally, we know our elements that we then know where we are best off. Let's say a manager is not really made for managing and has not enough fire. They burn out.
So you see this?
Yes. Or a typical example is like somebody with a lot of air element goes for their passion, goes for bricklaying. They are fantastic bricklayers. But then they get to say, like, okay, let's be a manager for a lot of bricklayers because I really know my business. Then they go from their basic element, from the earth, into fire, and they burn out because they don't have that fire element. And they don't do that well in there than they would do just staying with the earth element.
Wow. And so when you're working with somebody, these are the sorts of things that you would talk to them about. And how does someone start to work with this?
Yeah. So most people come when they are imbalance. So the bricklayer, when they're in the manager role, would come and say, okay, I'm burned out. I have all this, I'm fatigued. I have a sluggish digestive system. I have mental fog. And then we go like, okay, what happened? And then we work ourselves through. First, we have to create balance and support the healthy system. And then we change the environment again so that it nurtures that person.
Fantastic. So we're all kind of we all come in pre with an element, and then we're meant to work with that element, not try and fight against it.
Yeah. And that's where yoga and Ayurveda comes together. When we turn inward, when we really go and indulge in ourselves, connect to that blissful body, to our inner life, we know when we are exhausted and did too much. We know when something is draining our energy, isn't it? And that's what I really can just, yeah, put it to everybody's heart and say, just keep practicing, keep tuning into yourself. And then the days where you don't feel like, oh, I'm so tired, I don't want to do anything, go and practice, because you will connect. You go to the essence. You go, and we say, sometimes in these dull days, in these low days, it's like the mud, and we need the mud that the lotus can grow.
That's really great. There are so many days, aren't they, like that, where we just feel like we don't want to do something. It could even be something simple like going and hanging out with a friend, but you always feel better after doing it. Yeah, so yoga is just like that.
It's just like that. Yeah.
And how have you found for yourself, through this journey, I guess, how have you found that yoga is just, how did you know it was your calling? Was there sort of a moment, or was it more just you were led into it?
Mm. Yeah, I just know that I feel so much better if I practice myself. I It's just so stabilizing, and so clearing. I feel life is really a privilege. Like, it would be so, you know, it would be more, it's so much easier to be born as an ant than to be born as a human.
Yes, you know where you're meant to go, you just follow the leader.
That's it. So I really feel life is an absolute honor to be on that planet, to have a physical body, to be here in this community and society at that present time, and I feel it's my duty to give my best. Don't want to do any little less. I just want to do my best. And for that, you need to show up for yourself. You need to connect. You need to work things out. You need to stick with, if you feel like, sometimes I feel angry or jealous or can't handle, I I rock up for myself. I investigate. I sit with it. What does it need? And just really work and be present with that. So that's none of these lampshade is clouded. So that it really feel, okay, no, this is clear. I know I'm angry because I'm really just tired. I need sleep. I know I'm irritated because really I haven't been out in nature enough. And so when we get this clarity and we look after ourselves, and this is self-love at the end, isn't it? Like, you
This
rock
is
up,
true self-love.
it's
Yes.
true self-love. You rock up, you investigate, and you nurture your body and your soul. And then from there, the light can shine through because these layers are clear.
I think one thing that it took me a while to learn, but that I'm not my feelings, and that I can be the witness to my feelings, that I don't have to think that the thoughts are even my own, because like you said, there's these many layers. And I really like the way you've described it, because there have been times where I've thought, I am my feelings, or why am I feeling like this? And we can get ourselves into those rut, but to be able to just inquire and just sit with it is so powerful. And I don't know if we do it enough, because sometimes there was an incident that happened recently where a friend of mine was telling me that their daughter was upset about putting their socks and shoes on for school, and they said to me, I said, oh, so it looks like you need some new socks, because they were whinging about having to, not finding the right socks that they liked. It wasn't the right color, and they didn't want to wear this pair. And my friend said, no, it wasn't about the socks. And I said, what do you mean? And they said, no, we've moved schools, and the school that they went to before, they didn't have to wear socks. This isn't about the socks. This is about like the loss of their friendships and change. And it was such a beautiful, deep understanding. And I think that that's the truth, is that, it's not about the socks. And unless we inquire and go in and go, what is this really about? Like, we think we're angry about one thing or upset about one thing, but it's something completely different. And it takes awareness to get to that point.
Absolutely, yeah. I think it's really, I feel like it's really liberating when we know we are not our thoughts and we are not our emotions. Everyone has that light inside, and this is what will continue. And when that gives a little bit of distance, isn't it, between the emotion and our reaction. When you say, okay, my emotional body is playing up at the moment. Ooh, you are really on fire, emotional body. Like you can talk to your lampshade like that. They go, ooh, okay, do you want me to sit with you? What is it really about? And it's such a beautiful example with this socks.
It was.
Yeah.
It was a really beautiful example, and and me being a stylist, I just went straight to, oh yeah, like we can go shopping for socks, we can sort this. But yeah, I just love that the parent, that my friend was able to see the deeper meaning underneath it, and knew that there was more going on. And I think sometimes for ourselves we're so quick to think it's about. Yeah, I remember even my youngest the other day was making brownies and poured, instead of making like the icing thick with butter, it kind of melted, but she still put the icing all over the brownie, so it just went to mush. And I was so upset. And she was like, "Why are you so mad?" I'm like, "Because I just wanted the brownie. I just wanted to taste the brownie, and now it's soggy." But I love what kids are like. They were like, "It still tastes great," and they ate it. But it's interesting how, unless we can inquire why, why we're getting, what it is, and that it's not us, we're not our thoughts, we're not our emotions.
Yeah.
um, and I think too, thinking about, because we do talk about feeling into our body, and I know, the older I get, and the more you feel things in your body move, like my hips, or like, oh, that cracked, or what was that movement, or even my back, I'm like, oh gosh, something's there. But that's, I think, the external part of feeling your body. And I think that's what I used to think feeling sensations in your body was, not down to the micro,
Mm,
which is what you're talking about, like, right, not just the physical, but right into the emotional side of it too.
yeah. I feel the physical, that physical body is our temple of our soul. So we, this is how we live our earthly life. So the more we look after it, the less pain it has. And pain is just an energy sucker. So that's why yoga, has that physical form of looking after all the joints and creating muscle strength. And so that it's really that this is just that has a healthy form. And it's the same, like, good day, bad day. Some days the body will feel more heavy, and some days it will feel more light, even if you do everyday yoga. So just to make that clear. But it really, it really is like, this is that physical form. And if this is healthy, you can go deeper inside and investigate, like you said, like. And a good yoga practice has practice the subtle muscles, but also the gross muscles. So, fitness is often come, okay, let's get a six pack. But there are four more other layers to your abdomen, to your core, that you want to strengthen. So we try to get all the layers.
And when I think true self-love is definitely that, when you can really love yourself on the inside, it does tend to show on the outside, the way we dress, the way we, look after our bodies, what we eat. And it doesn't mean we always have to eat the most perfect food. In fact, last night I really enjoyed a brownie for dessert, but I tasted it, I enjoyed it, and I think allowing ourselves to, whatever it is, to enjoy it with no guilt is powerful, because otherwise the guilt ends up inside of us too, doesn't it?
It stores too, yeah. And the self-love, I feel, when we is, like you said, like whether I eat something which is maybe not on the top list of healthy foods, and say, but today I really enjoy it, and I savor how that brownie melts in my mouth, and the texture of fatty stuff and the sweetness, and I'm really there. And
Yes.
this is, and the same when we, like, let's say we have a sad day and we have tears, and we say, I love you in your tears. Come on, is there anything more in there you want to cry out? Cry it out. It's good that that bowel has opened, We just being present and loving ourselves, not just when we are perfect and glowing, like in all the states. This is true self-love. When we show
That's
up with
very powerful.
mm,
Yeah, that's really powerful, and that's very true. Like, even when we are in those down moments, to really go into it. And because the amount of times I think for myself, I shove those feelings down, like, don't cry, don't cry, don't cry, and it ends up coming out one way or another, doesn't it? Like, it might not show up in tears, but it might show up at you snapping at somebody you didn't mean to snap at, or in some other way. So, and I think that's a really beautiful thing, to treat yourself like that little child inside. I love the way you're like hugging yourself too, because I think that's really powerful. Even just stroking your hand or doing those techniques are really that self-love, just pampering yourself, going, yes, little one, what do you need?
absolutely, exactly. Just my sweetheart, how can I nurture you? Can I comfort you in holding you? Like, really, nurturing that little child, or that facet that shows up at the moment. We even don't need to name it, like, it's, but it wants to show itself and to just be present. And I remember there was one day and my kids were around, and you go like, oh, they don't should I don't feel they should be confronted with my sadness, and but I thought, like, okay, well, this is a teaching now for everybody. Mom is just crying and she's just crying out, and I was crying, and I always ask myself, do you want to cry a little bit longer? Are there other tears that you want to cry out with for that? And I just kept sobbing. And it's really out, it's not like that one tear and the rest we press down. It's really out. It's healed. Yeah, and I always say, like, better out than in, because if it's in, it influences us some way, whether we snap to something, just like you said, or next time we have a similar topic that kicks up, then we react and we go like, what was that? Like, why would I say this, or why would I receive it like that? So it influences us. So better out than in is always a saying I have.
And so, if somebody was wanting to get started with something like yoga, what's a good way to know? Maybe you said that there's lots of different types of yoga. So, how do you find kind of the one that you know is right for you? Or is it based on that feeling? Is it sort of you've got to go and try it out, or what would you
Yeah.
recommend?
I would recommend really to try out where you feel home in your yoga class, that you feel like these words are resonating with me. This is in this class, I feel secure and I can relax into myself. You will feel that habitual tightness that we hold on is just dropping away. And this is where you feel like, you feel energized afterwards, you feel positive, even if you had something negative coming up, but the end vibration is higher. And then it's maybe for a certain period of time, this was really good for you. And then you feel like you have moved on. And then you may look for another teacher. And I always feel like, if people come to me, I trust you, I'm the perfect teacher for that present moment. I'm not sad if somebody leaves and needs some other input at the moment. And I'm happy when people come back again. So it's really a dynamic process. Which words do I need to hear to find that access to my body and my inner world? And whatever helps you is the right.
That's really beautiful. I think that's a wonderful way to think of things in life in general, not to take things personally,
Mm,
and for people to be able to feel free to try out different classes, not feel like they're sort of locked in somewhere, and then that's your because like you said, we all grow and we change, and we might want to try new things.
Call that actually gypsy yogas, people who try out all the different things, and I find, yeah, be a gypsy for a while and then go for one direction that you think, okay, this is now what, for now it's this. And then you go with that. And I always say, like, you do your weekly classes, do now and then like a day workshop, or, that you can really dive in for that day, and take the time to do retreats or teacher trainings to really, if you feel there's more for you in there, just go and indulge yourself in it. There's so much more to yoga that we can describe in a normal yoga class.
Oh, that's so exciting. And for anybody who would like to, maybe come and see you, how can they get in touch, or how can they work with you?
So every class at the moment, this is the positive outcome of COVID, is also online. So if you're in Cairns, of course, you can join the classes in person, but every class is also online. So we have people from England clicking in, from Adelaide, from Sydney, from Brisbane. So it's really sweet, to be so connected through that time. My website is the number 3 yoga.info. So there are all the informations there, and you can always flick me a text or an email, and we find an individual way for you. Because, people sometimes ask me, okay, I have this, this, and this, what would be the best? Then I can say, if I would be you, I would go to this class, do this, see me then and then. And then it's like, anything, because I'm the professional. I can see from the top and say, okay, this is where this person is struggling, or this is where this person wants to improve. You need this. So if you want to have this recommendation, I'm very happy for you to just flick me a text or an email, and we can work from there.
Thank you so much for joining us today, and I look forward to more yoga classes.
Yes, very good. We greet with namaste in yoga, which means really, I greet the light inside of you, which is a true belief of mine, that we all have that light of our soul shining. And thank you, Gerlinda, for allowing, supporting people to let their light shine through your work. So thank you for bringing us all together.
Namaste.
Namaste.